You're watching live from Paris here on France 24. It's time for some business news now on the programme. And Yuka is with us today here on set. Yuka, you're starting in China, aren't you? We've got yet another sign that the world's #2 economy is kind of losing steam.
Losing steam indeed. China's economy grew at 6.4% in the third quarter of 2018, its slowest pace since the financial crisis. It means that GDP growth slowed for 3 consecutive quarters. That brought its growth figure for the full year to 6.6%. That's the slowest annual pace since 1990. China's Statistics Bureau also revised annual growth for 2017 down to 6.8% from the previous estimate of 6.9%. Now for more, let's cross over to our correspondent Charles Pellegrin in Beijing, who's standing by. See if we can get Charles Pellegrin. Yes, hello, Charles. So official data kind of confirming that China's economy is cooling, this despite a raft of stimulus measures introduced by the government in recent months. What's happening to the world's #2 economy?
Well, this slowdown of the Chinese economy can be explained by several factors, but mostly that's focused on lower investment in China and lower consumer confidence. And behind this, this can be partly explained by the trade war with the United States, which has affected Chinese exports, which represent about 20% of GDP, and Chinese manufacturing output. Indeed, those tariffs imposed by the U.S. on $250 billion worth of Chinese goods sort of having their toll there. But it's also worth noting that the slowdown was set in motion even before the trade war started with the United States, because over a year ago, the Chinese government started a campaign to crack down on risky debt. And this means now that there's less easy credit available and going around. The debt problem in China is very much at the top of the agenda for the government in Beijing, with about $34 trillion of public and private debt.
Well, as you mentioned, trade wars coming on top of other economic factors, further weighing on China's economy. And the two sides are currently negotiating, trying to hash out a trade deal by March. Where do we stand in the current negotiations?
Well, a mid-level American delegation came to Beijing about 2 weeks ago and held talks here in China. And now Xi Jinping's chief economic advisor and chief negotiator in these talks, Liu He, is coming to Washington at the end of January for 2 days of talks. Both sides are saying in their official statements that they are optimistic about finding an agreement before the end of March 1st. And China has actually offered some concessions, including a 6-year import boost of American products entering China. This to pick at the trade deficit between China and the United States. And they've also suggested 2 new law proposals, one to better protect foreign intellectual property in China, and another to encourage foreign investment in China. However, there are some reports that the talks are stuck, especially on this issue of intellectual property protection, with the Americans airing their grievances and particularly criticizing the practice of the forced transfer of technology to have access to the Chinese market, and on the other hand, the Chinese completely denying any wrongdoing. So this is, are these concessions made by China going to be enough? That's what we'll find out in these negotiations at the end of the month, and the devil will be in the details.
Well, we'll certainly keep a close eye on those negotiations. Thank you very much, Charles Pellegrin, reporting from Beijing. Now, those weak figures from China were still pretty much within expectations, and Asian stocks actually rose this Monday. As you can see, all up comfortably in the green zone. In Tokyo, shares of Panasonic and Toyota both rose following a report that the 2 firms will set up a joint venture to produce electric car batteries. The gap between the rich and the poor is widening out of control. A report by Oxfam found that while a new billionaire was created every 2 days last year, the poorest half of the world's population saw their wealth decline by 11%. As global business and political leaders are gathering in Davos, Switzerland for the annual World Economic Forum, the charity criticised some governments of failing to properly tax corporate giants and the rich, while increasingly underfunding public services.
The richest people in the world, the most powerful people in the world, the political leaders of the world, take action to reduce extreme inequality because it is out of control. Our report gives the evidence that extreme inequality is on the increase. It gives the causes for that situation, which lie in the fact that political leaders are not taxing fairly the rich.
And that's it from me for now.
Thank you very much, Yuka. Yuka with Business on France 24.